Hello, everyone. My name is Alexander Garcia. I will be doing a review of The Unbearable Intimacy of Moonlight by Richard Brody. So, who is Richard Brody? Sorry. Richard Brody is a film critic at the New Yorker. He's been there since 1999. He has reviewed films such as Top Gun Maverick. He's done Parasite, great film, Lady Bird, and Let It Be. So when Richard is talking about the film Moonlight, he kind of goes into detail and he says that this it explores like the intersectionality of race, sexuality, and class all in one film. And then we also see how these forces shape Chiron's sense of self and identity in a world where he's often rejected. Um, the thesis of the article being that the film's profound emotional impact stems from its meticulous attention to detail and intense closeness it fosters between the characters and the audience. So there is a lot of uh, parallels that I feel like the audience can relate to in the film with the characters. For example, with Chiron, with Chiron's mom, with Juan's wife. I feel like there's a lot of characters that people can actually relate to. Let me see. So Jenkins also goes into talking about how with this film, with Moonlight, Jenkins really realized his ambitions and ideas. He was able to embody personal sensibility, uh, and an emotional experience that is as much of a matter of cinematic invention as of an distinguished sensitivity of his character's pain and drive. So he says this because Brody was talking about how previously he wasn't really too fond of Jenkins' work in Medicine for Melancholy. So he was kind of ecstatic or excited to see what this film were to turn out to be. And lo and behold, it it blew his expectations away. He continues by saying that Jenkins conjures the birth of an individual's consciousness and forging of a complex and multifaceted identity. He restores complexity to the very idea of identity and the multiplicity as well as the singularity of being oneself. So I believe that Richard Brody said this because we get to see like that kind of architecture or that structure that Jenkins really put into the film when seeing the character development with Chiron. We see him in three different episodes. We see him as Little, which is what he was called when he was younger, and then we see him as Chiron, and then we see him as Black. Now, um, Brody also goes in by saying that with Moonlight, that mode is an overwhelming specificity. It's a movie about a young black man who is contending with the feeling that he might be gay. And then he also emphasizes that all of the characters in this film are African American. So yeah, that was a really big deal. This was like all black cast, all African American cast, which is I would say really monumental, especially when they won their award. And then he also continues on by saying that it's not a film that specifically focuses on being queer, being gay, being black. It's just like a whole, it's an entire film that focuses on a bigger issue than just being gay and black. It focuses on race, gender, class, sexuality, etc. And we see that with Chiron, with his development. We don't necessarily see the film go into one thing too much. It kind of just gives us like a broad spectrum of these issues. And then also Brody goes into saying that just a few minutes into Moonlight, Jenkins has already created a masterwork, one in which the intensity of emotional experiences arises from nearly microscopic observational felicities that fill the film. So we see this in little cuts of the film where Chiron is being chased by his classmates, calling him gay. We see him get yelled at by his mom. His mom takes his money. What else? We see an intimate moment with Juan and Chiron on the beach, and then when Chiron is being taught how to swim. I feel like there's just a lot of intimacy in this film that wouldn't be really expected with such a film. And then he goes on with saying that without lo ever losing the sight of the political phenomena that makes Chiron who he is, The film, it includes racism, it includes the homophobia, the mass incarceration, the governmental neglect, and poverty in their immediate power, as well as their long-term effects. So we kind of uh this film, it really puts a magnifying glass on how there is a lot of communities that are like this. There's communities that are low class and they see these kind of issues. We see how Chiron ends up being a drug dealer. Why? Because he comes from that background, but also because he had that person, which was Juan, that was like, he kind of saw him as a role model. So he kind of followed in his footsteps. Um, and then Brody also continues by saying that Jenkins films them not as an issue to be pinned to the screen. I feel like he's talking about these issues of the racism, the homophobia, mass incarceration, and such. Uh, but he rather does it as a crystallization of an individual experience in all its impacted pain and ongoing struggle. So he kind of just does this as an emphasis that there are people that go through this, all these trials and tribulations, and they move forward. But yeah, that was my presentation. Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed.